Derek Moneyberg sued me, which allowed me to have a period called discovery where I found many of Derek's secrets, which I will be uncovering today. Derek sells $5,000 courses on getting rich in real estate. It's literally called Real Estate Riches, and a $5,000 course on attempting to beat the stock market. He has a mastermind network for $20,000 that also has a $5,000 yearly renewal fee. When you're watching this video, I just want you to ask yourself if this is a guy you can trust to give your money to. Back in 2006, he was arrested for obstructing an officer. A couple months later, a warrant was out for his arrest for failure to appear in court. A few months after that, Dale found himself in more legal hot water as another warrant was out for his arrest. This happened 14 years ago, and I'm a man who likes to give people second chances, so I think it's fair that we consider giving Dale Buskowski, aka Derek Moneyberg, a chance to redeem himself. Since his idea of flexing looks like this, I may have to reconsider. After some initial research, I found something a lot worse than I could have imagined. Dale Buskowski was arrested in 2014 for domestic violence. I certainly wasn't there, so I can't say what happened, but he allegedly obstructed an officer and then a few years later allegedly did physical harm to a woman close to him. Your Honor, there appears to be a history of violence. The charges listed are a domestic battery, first degree. Given his arrest records, would you feel comfortable giving him your money? Derek Moneyberg is a public figure with over 4 million followers on Instagram. Because he sued me, I decided it was in the best interest of everyone to do some research into Derek Moneyberg. If you're going to give him $5,000, I think it's important to know the full picture of the person you're giving money to. Do you think this guy has stopped committing crimes? The real question is, when will he stop? In episode 1 of this series, I detailed how Derek was possibly committing perjury and state income tax fraud. It is my belief that he did in fact commit perjury multiple times. In the complaint, Derek listed his home address as this property in Incline Village, Nevada. During Derek's deposition, my attorney asked him where his primary residence was. Derek said Incline Village, Nevada. There's various definitions on what qualifies as a primary residence, but put simply, it's going to be the place you live, your home, where you spend a majority of your time. Derek was asked if Incline Village was where he spent a majority of his time. He answered yes. Being a real estate investor, it was right up my alley to find the property records and contact the owner. The owner said Dale, aka Derek Moneyberg, never lived there. During the owner's deposition, the attorney asked him if Dale lives at the property. No. Fair to say there isn't a lease agreement that's been signed between you and Dale to allow him to live at the Incline Village property? No, there is no lease agreement. Now, he does use this address, like most of his mail comes here, so he comes and picks it up from time to time, but it's not a signed lease agreement. Dale presented images of his mail at the Incline Village property as proof he lived there, which is hilariously stupid. He even showed his tax return document as having the Incline Village address, which means he's possibly falsifying tax return info. Derek Moneyberg falsely claimed his primary residence was Incline Village, Nevada in a lawsuit and in a deposition. That is blatant perjury. NRS 199120 is the Nevada law that prohibits perjury, the legal term for lying under oath. It is a Category D felony to commit perjury. Penalties include 1 to 4 years in prison and a possible fine of up to $5,000. There is no defense for completely lying about where you live. You can't just forget where your primary residence is. That is blatant perjury. Instead, they have engaged in gamesmanship and supplemented their responses to propounded discovery on November 18, 2022 to claim that Mr. Buskowski resides at more than 11 properties in Nevada. That isn't a joke. Dale, aka Derek Moneyberg, now claims to live in 11 different properties in Nevada. 11! He hasn't shown any proof he owns anything in Nevada. During the Incline Village property owner's deposition, he said Derek stays at his girlfriend's parents' house while in Vegas. Derek Moneyberg sued the guy I interviewed in the state of Nevada because Derek claims to live there. He committed perjury for what appears to be jurisdictional reasons in a lawsuit. That should be a felony charge, a fine, and a reimbursement of attorney's fees, in my opinion. If Mr. Buskowski is still allowed to misrepresent his residency under oath, plaintiffs should be required to show by a preponderance of evidence at an evidentiary hearing that personal jurisdiction exists. If Derek Moneyberg lived in Nevada, he would have provided his primary residence the first time he was asked. Whoops, you caught me. I lied about living in Incline Village, Nevada. I actually live at these 11 different properties. It makes it so obvious he committed perjury. Mr. Buskowski represented that he never leased or owned these residences except for one. The one residence from which he owned or leased was located in Illinois. Mr. Buskowski also refused to produce his driver's license, which he admitted was an Illinois driver's license that is now expired. Illinois driver's license for a guy who claims to live in Nevada? That doesn't sound odd at all. During Mr. Buskowski's deposition on December 9, 2022, he further admitted that the only vehicle that he or his companies possess is located in Illinois, which is where he resides. Driver's license, all of his real estate, his only car, his home gym, all in Illinois. In addition, the businesses from which Mr. Buskowski has a business ownership interest own real property in Illinois. He claims to have his office in Chicago and a home gym in his Chicago condo, but he also claims he lives in Incline Village, Nevada. The only reason why I see someone doing that is for tax fraud reasons. Last, Mr. Buskovsky's flight patterns show that the city from which he returns to after traveling to Chicago, Illinois. That's right, we have access to his flight records indicating where he regularly flies to and from. ORD is Chicago O'Hare International Airport and is seen frequently here as it's the airport he flies home to. Derek clearly lives in Chicago, Illinois. He committed perjury numerous times to allegedly do what is called forum shopping in my co-defendant's case. Forum shopping is the process by which a plaintiff chooses among two or more courts that have the power, technically the correct jurisdiction and venue, to consider the plaintiff's case. This decision is based on which court is likely to consider the case most favorably. I don't know why Derek is committing a felony by claiming to live in 11 properties in Nevada, but forum shopping could be a reason because maybe he thinks he has a more favorable chance to win the case in Nevada as opposed to Illinois. Derek went by the name RSD Derek for numerous years when he was a dating coach at RSD. My attorney asked Derek about the Julian Blanc scandal while he was at RSD, and he spent numerous pages of a deposition document trying to avoid the topic. So at the time of these media reports, you were affiliated with RSD? Derek's answer was that he was being paid from RSD from somewhere around 2014 to 2020. In November 2014, a dating coach at the company was labeled as the most hated man in the world by Time for some of his very questionable content. Your relationship with RSD began before or after those accusations? Derek answered, I was aware of the company and knew some of the people there before then, but I wouldn't say that I was affiliated with the company in the sense of having a paid working relationship with them. Derek Moneyberg claimed in a deposition that he began working for RSD around 2014 and was vaguely aware of the Julian Blanc scandal that made worldwide news. His co-worker at a small company being labeled the most hated man in the world by Time magazine and banned from visiting multiple countries was something he was moderately aware of. It's interesting to see Dale's LinkedIn profile showing that he worked for RSD beginning in 2003. Here's an email RSD Derek sent to customers of his dating boot camps in 2018 where he states he's been involved in pickup since 2002, RSD since 2003, and have been on its board of directors since 2007. He clearly wanted to avoid the topic of Julian Blanc during his deposition because of the allegations. Derek has been arrested for domestic violence battery in the first degree, so it makes sense why he'd want to avoid that topic. But it's also another clear example of Derek Moneyberg committing perjury. Not knowing the exact year is acceptable, but claiming to have begun working at a company a decade after you started is not acceptable in my opinion, and he was doing it to avoid the topic of assaulting women, which he may have possibly allegedly had a history with. A fan of the channel happened to see Derek Moneyberg at the UFC event the other night in Vegas and sent me the pictures. This dude wore his terribly ugly branded undersized t-shirt to a high-end UFC event. For any guys out there who are hopeless with women, please look at Derek Moneyberg and realize you can be down pretty bad, and there's still hope because you'll never be as unattractive as him in my opinion. She could have been paid for. Let's not assume she likes him. I don't know, and you got to make sure to ask him first. He was a dating coach before being a wealth coach, so you never know. Who wouldn't want to date this guy? A customer emailed me after the last video. I made the dumb mistake of paying $5,000 a year ago for Stock Markets Mastery. Even though the content was legit, it wasn't worth $5,000, and he did kick people out for failing to provide a review among other high-pressure tactics. Another customer emailed me. Anyways, I contacted a lawyer literally this morning before I found your video about disputing a $20K program I joined earlier this year with Derek called the Moneyberg Mastermind. I paid $20K to be part of his mastermind earlier this year and received not much. Thankfully, some of you are finally reaching out to me. I'm doing my best to find ways where we can help get your money back. If you're someone who feels they got duped by his underwhelming programs, please email me or DM me on Instagram. My lawsuit with Derek has taken 18 months. It has been a black cloud over my head the entire time. I'm $210,000 out of pocket thus far, and it's not over. This year, I'll make around $180,000 from AdSense, which is how most YouTubers make money. I've spent $270,000, most of which has gone to cover my legal fees. If you're a mathematician, then you'll quickly realize that I would be $90,000 in the hole this year, meaning I would have worked as hard as I do to lose $90,000 making content. That's why I took on sponsorships. I've made $80,000 this year from sponsorships, meaning I've only lost $10,000 this year from making content. Yes, you heard that right. I've lost money this year from making content. And the recent scandal about something I promoted resulted in 2 people wanting refunds, which they received. No one was damaged in any way, but there seems to be a narrative that I'm the bad guy, which is completely false. When I receive emails from people extremely upset that Derek Moneyberg wouldn't give them a refund or he committed fraud by not delivering a paid boot camp, it makes me realize that I'm the only voice these people have. The law doesn't care. It's not enough of a loss to hire a lawyer, and it's not worth the time and energy spent into a lawsuit, but it's enough to drastically alter their lives, and so they contact me hoping that I can assist with either a refund or making a video so they can feel some sort of justice. Taking on a lawsuit is incredibly financially damaging. It is emotionally draining, and it is a burdensome amount of time and energy when you're on the defendant side of a frivolous lawsuit. It has made this year very challenging. But I know that there are a lot of people out there upset at fake gurus like Derek Moneyberg, and I want to hear from you. I want to help. That's why I signed up to take on this fight. Thanks for watching.